And that's where things can get rich and interesting, right?
Yeah,
In the sharing, and it gets us out of our own personal echo chambers. and
yeah, yeah,
even if I could see everything, I wouldn't be able to see everything from how someone else sees everything.
yeah,
You know?
yeah, and that's one of the really, like, you just pointed to one of the real secrets, one of the real developmental secrets, which is, are we looking at, are we participating to look at this and do our analysis on a thing as an object, or can we be in the flow of the process?
Hmm.
My invitation to you is to organize yourself so that you're in developmental process, not that you're doing or enacting development, right?
That's brilliant too.
You aren't there to coach the client. You're there to be in a developmental coaching process.
Hmm.
It's not always clear. Like, oftentimes as a beginner, I think of myself and I would think that I'm the coach enacting the developmental thing,
Hmm.
one thing coaching another thing, right? And it's not always, in retrospect, it wasn't always obvious, but that the developmental coaching process was being enacted and fulfilled both in myself and in the client,
Mm.
right? And you can begin to feel that, you can feel that resistance showing up and that development process, and it can leave you a little bit off balance, right? Because your ego can be there trying to enact this thing called the coaching, and it's like, and stuff's coming up for you, right? Why is it coming up for me? It's like, this should be, I should just read a manual and do my shit and they receive the benefit, but all this stuff's coming up for me, right? And that's the beauty
Well,
of our
thank you for
process.
that. That rings true with my experience in ACM, where I'd arrive at a coaching session, and even if I'd prepared a lot, in my mind I was underprepared.
Yeah.
Right, and then I'd be nervous. And so, for context, I have a good decade or so of facilitating people through a meditation process in hollow bones that we call Mondo Zen. So I'm not a newcomer to sitting down with people and having a structure, yet also being open to what emerges in them, in me, and in the moment. Uh, but finding that and finding myself getting triggered during my coaching during ACM,
Mm.
and I don't know enough, or oh my god, what's the next step, etc. And uh, it was remarkable to be able to draw on my Zen experience to just like, okay, stop, just get present, don't get heady about technique or accomplishment or making sure the other person has some great experience. All right, just be present and listen and listen and keep on point. I would keep a general outline in front of me so I knew where we were in the flow, not to get lost. Uh, and most of the time, it was like our our co-created, right? There's me, there's the client, and there's this we thing, as you know, right?
Yeah.
And somehow just trusting myself enough, the process enough, the other person enough. It's like the development takes care of itself as long as we show up for it enough. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. I mean, one of the things that comes to me is that it does, but and it can seem magical, but it doesn't just happen by magic. Like, there's some real
Mm.
pragmatic things that we need to do in the space of that, right? So in the space of being overwhelmed by what's coming up inside of me here, there's some really pragmatic things I can do to be responsible and manage that. So one of the things that I can do is I can name what's happening here.
Hmm.
If I can be with me, you, and there's a third voice in the room here, can I name all three? Right? Can I declare that I'm feeling overwhelmed? Gee, Paco, like my job is not to ICC is not giving me a mandate to coach you on how to do better in your PCM. They're going to have their own facilitation, and maybe there's stuff that I might say and that I might do in retrospect that they might not even approve of. And so there's some vulnerability. I don't want to steer you wrong, and I don't want to be, you know, trading on anybody else's turf, so to speak.
Hmm.
And I deeply care for some inexplicable reason. You and I have developed uh, I have an empathy for you and a connection, and I really want to see you taken care of and thriving through PCM and beyond.
Thank you. It's a lovely articulation.
Yeah. Yeah. And so